My name is Abhijith, or you could call me ABX. We are here for a pretty cool panel with all these amazing folks in here. We are going to talk about the adversarial mindset and why is it not optional anymore. Why we have to think like an attacker is. So I run a village named Adversary Village here at DEF CON. How many of you have been to Adversary Village this year? Oh, nice. Last year? Okay, I got one. So we are a village focused on adversarial mindset, adversary simulation, everything related to offensive cyber security. Mostly research. We host a couple of workshops, discussions, and hands-on activities, competition, so and so activities, right? And after this panel, please make sure to go and visit Adversary Village. And we have an amazing set of folks here who would like to share their thoughts and insights on the adversarial mindset, right? From different background. I'm going to start from Bryson for self-introduction. They are going to tell you wonderful stories from their experience and from their life. Bryson, off to you.
So I was the adversary. When I got out of government, I started an offensive consultancy called Grim. That was the nickname I earned in government. Target came to me in 2016 and asked me to build them an alternative to Cobalt Strike. You've all heard of Cobalt Strike, right? How's that going? So I came up with an idea to build them a platform of unlimited implants, which we called Project Crossbow. No, not the Expo that you are now seeing in automated pen testing. That was actually our code name back in 16 to 18. I realized I knew nothing about commercial software sales and development. I am as dumb as I look. And I venture capital raised with Ron Gula from Tenable and Dmitry Operovich from CrowdStrike. And my full-time job is now Scythe. We're an adversary emulation platform. And then I'm the co-founder of the ICS Village. So if you want to learn about hacking industrial control systems, the ICS Village is where I will be for the rest of the day.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anant. I run a company called Siphonoid Research. My primary focus right now is around cloud security and software supply chain security.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Gordon Boom, United States Air Force. I go by Fizzle. I guess I am still an adversary of sorts. Predominantly, I'm in offensive cyber operations, C&E type background. Currently, I'm working with the 567th Operations Group, and that's responsible for what we call service cyber protection teams, and they're the ones that go out and help respond, defend blue networks within the Air Force.
That's cool. And so about adversarial mindset and hacker mindset. So how do we define it? Like, it's not like not a technological question. It's not only a technological question. It's also philosophical. It's also a part of process, right? So Bryson, how do you differentiate between adversarial mindset and hacker mindset? So we are at a hacker conference.
You're going to just keep putting me on the spot first, huh?
Yeah, for sure, yes.
So I've been spending a lot of years doing this, and the commercial world is completely different than the real thing. And the first reason is because it's the same way everything in humanity works. Money. We do not have enough time to thoroughly replicate a real world threat. Because a real world threat is not a 16-year-old in a random country with an offensive tool set doing something. It is an entire mission planning and execution process from what do I need to get, how do I need to get there, what do I need to build? And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, is it's not just technical. Anybody know what close access is? Can I get hands-on with you? Right? Close access means touch. You don't have to do everything the hard way. We don't have to hack everything the hard way. So when I think about the hacker mindset and I think about this community, I tend to see what I think is the interest in penetration testing. How do I play a capture the flag? How do I break onto a box? How do I escalate privileges? How do I do the most that I can do on a host? And that's absolutely an important skill set. But that's not what an attacker is. And so when I've been looking at this, we built this offensive maturity model because as for those of you who heard me on the keynote opening panel for Adversary Village, I was talking about if it works, it matters. If you type a command on a CLI and it does something, congratulations, you're the PLA. If you type in a PowerShell command and it does something, you are a GRU unit. If you type in who am I, you are the Iranians. It doesn't matter if it is complicated, it's what works. And that is very much the adversarial mindset. It isn't just about learning, it's not about showing off, it's about what accomplishes the mission. And we will do anything possible by all means. If you've ever heard full spectrum operations, that's what we mean. I don't care how I get there, because I don't get points for being fancy. I get points for being there and accomplishing what I need to do.
All right, so the question was hacker mindset versus adversarial. I agree with what Bryson said about the adversarial mindset. The way we have grown up in DEF CON world, in the world where we are, we originate the hacker definition as someone who could make systems do whatever they want to do, whatever the system is not intended to do. That's the way we define hacker. But the thing that you have to understand with adversarial is, it's not about making the system do something else. It's not about anything in the world. There is a fixed target in mind. This is what I want to achieve. If the system does it, I will use it. If the system does not, I will try to find make a way to get that done. And the system in most of the hacker world is the electronics. Whereas when you talk about adversarial mindset, it could as simple as be put $10 in front of a person and see how they act. So human, people, process, technology, everything aligned to a target is where adversarial attacks focus on. Whereas the hacker mindset, what we generally call ourselves as hackers, we're basically trying to deal with the system in a way which system is not designed to. I think that's kind of what I define.
I was hoping you were going to put $10 out there, but I think y'all covered most of the bases. The only thing I would add there is that a lot of it, to me, would be intent. The hacker mindset is we're looking to reshape something that exists, put doom on it. With the adversary mindset, there's a specific goal and objective in mind. They are trying to get something, get somewhere, do something, change the behavior of the system, intentionally make it do something else for either personal or organizational gain. So, yeah, I think y'all covered the bases.
So, there is a book out there. It's called Building Red Team Operations by Joe. There is a pretty nice story. I think you guys are familiar with that. That is more like during World War II, there was a plane out there. Some of them were gone for a mission. Few of them came back. Few of them did not. A few of them came back with a few bullet holes on the wings and sort of, Then the people decided the defense. They decided to harden a few parts of the airplane. Then there was a question. Okay, here is a picture with an aircraft with red dots. In all the places it got shot. So that question was, the planes actually got back to the base with bullet holes, and where was it hit and where it was not. That was like thinking the opposite. They decided to harden the wings where it was most hit, but all these planes, they were able to get back to the base even though they got hit in the wings. But other set of planes which did not get back to the base. So they got to thinking the other ways. Okay, these are the planes which was not, got back to the base. They got hit somewhere very sensitive or critical. That's the reason they did not get back to the base. It's not like how many hits you actually you take, but how many you can actually take and withstand. This is more like a funny, a very nice story, I read somewhere to explain about adversary mindset. So when we talk about technology or technical or more sophisticated threat tactics, that is on-site. But let's talk about process for a moment. Let's say we know many organizations are still compliant. They pass complaints every year. But we also think like the attackers who are targeting this organization, they are the most sophisticated, and somehow they are getting into this organization without any hurdles. without any proper defense. So what do you think about it? Is it so easy for the attackers to think ahead of us and get into the premises of the organizations or the companies which we work for? What do you think about that? I will start with Anand.
All right. So there's another hacker known as Halvor Flake, Thomas Dullian. They did a keynote a couple of years back in Black Hat Asia, and they used a very common phrase which has now become very common. Offense is always technical in nature. Defense is always political in nature. You don't buy the product which is the best in the world, which can protect you from all sorts of problem. Anyone here who's from the world where you're procuring items, you would agree to this, that you buy from the vendor who's already enrolled in the system, because it takes 1 year to enroll a new vendor in the system. So you buy whatever software is available with the vendor set that you have. So we're never actually aiming to be... Or the budget, yeah. Whatever is then in the budget and with the vendor available. Both the things have to be matched up. So we're never actually trying to reach a point where we have covered our bases. We're trying to, so you talked about compliance. 80% is the minimum marks required. I am going to achieve 80.00000, whatever is the minimumest possible one. I am not going to aim for more than that, because if I spend more budget on that, where would other things come from? So when in the corporate world, we're basically juggling with budget. And if I don't spend the budget, I won't get the budget next year. So I need to spend it. But if I spend it in one place more, I leave the other place empty. So it's kind of that ball game that was going on. So when you ask, are hackers able to get in? Easily, yes. And I think Bryson, and you add more to it. It's easier to get in because I am not looking at covering the important areas. I'm looking at getting that benchmark done, getting that budget exhausted, moving on with life, because I know a CISO's life in a corporate world is 2 years. In 2 years, someone else is going to be dealing with my shit.
It starts with compliance. Compliance is the baseline. Security is the critical thinking process that happens on top of that baseline. Why does compliance fail? Because compliance is static. It's a checklist. I have your checklist before I ever show up. I have your entire defensive stack before I ever deploy a tool. And you know how I get all of that? Because back in our day, we had to do it the hard way. Thank you, LinkedIn. I know everybody at your company. I know their names, their relationships, their positions, and I look at all of your job descriptions, so I know every defensive tool you have before I ever deployed. Why are you surprised you never see me? Going to your comment about budget and buying, has anybody in here solved cybersecurity? No? Nobody? Isn't it strange? It's not solved. It's not solved. You have a lot of experience and opinions, and we may even be able to bring some data to those opinions, but none of us can look you in the eye and say 100% what I think works today will work tomorrow. And it's not even hard. So back when I used to do this stuff, I took it for granted because we always won. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not bragging. I'm telling you, every single mission we had, we got. And you know what? On top of that, we never even got caught. You will find no records of my stuff anywhere in the world. We never got caught. And I took that for granted because we always just won. We got our proverbial man. And as I went into the commercial world, I kept thinking about that. And I was going, like, why did we always win? Why is cybersecurity unsolved? And it's because the whole space is infinite. There are an infinite number of ways between the interconnected nature of humans and technology to find those edges to get things that I want to do. And again, going back to I already know where you're looking, I know where to deceive, deny, and disable you. So in doing that, I came up with a simple model, I thought, to illustrate this. I hate the Lockheed Martin kill chain. MITRE ATT&CK is fantastic, except for it's been abused, and most people really don't understand what it is. So I came up with something simple. I call it BAM, Bryson's attack model. The world is 3 phases. Step 1, reconnaissance. What house in this neighborhood looks like the most fun to break into? I like your G-Wagon, sir. You're it. So now I'm going to watch. I'm going to see when you're home, see if you're married, kids, dog, alarm system, electric fence. And if you were an actual company, you probably have a CEO somewhere who read in the back of a private jet that he needed a moat with laser beams, and the CFO, she said, we need this, right? And you have all of these ridiculous systems. And guess who gets to implement the ridiculous systems? All of you. And you get to maintain them. Anyone feel like those systems are working for you? Going back to this problem. Now here's the second part, and this is where we as an industry, in my opinion, we are psychologically held up on this. The break-in, the initial access, initial code execution. Back to our thief, all I've done is pick the lock and the door opens. In Cyberworld, I've got shell. I mean, have you ever declared mission accomplished when you got shell?
Try not to.
You try not to. George Bush joke. Remember him? Because getting shell isn't the point. And from a defender perspective, we are psychologically held up on this because we are afraid. And your leadership and us in this room, actually, if you stop and think about it, we respond out of anxiety and fear. And so we try really hard to do everything we can to keep the bad people away and out. Because who wouldn't want to keep the masked intruders away from your family? Especially me. I mean, I'm just, you don't know what I'm going to do in your house. But that's not the point. The point is the third space, actions on objective. Once I cross the threshold, once I now start interacting with my shell, that's the part that matters. And here's the thing, because you all have been to enough security talks before, and you leave feeling bad. Everything sucks, nothing works, that's security. Let me give you something good. You've heard the expression, an attacker only needs to be right once, and the defender needs to always be right. Bullshit. It's actually the other way around. Because once I'm in your space, I'm on your computers that talk your communication protocols, and there's only so many things I can do. I did a collaboration with this idea with Halvor Flake, Thomas Dulian, from his Weird Machines talk back in 2018, where I figured out a lot of this stuff. So it's a nice call out. You get $20. But here's the thing. You control those assets, you control how they talk, and you control where I am. You have all the choke points. So if you can focus on the mindset of what I have to do going to where I need to go with you, there aren't a lot of ways I can get there. You have me. You just need to be looking the right way.
It's a resource game. It's a risk-reward game. From the blue side of things, we invest in IT and resources to be able to do tasks, but we also make our risk decisions based off of where we think it's going to hurt us the most. That's still something I struggle with as I flip from the other side of this equation, because the attacker side, you're absolutely right. Like, I don't care. You can protect all the things, that's great, but like I need one chink in the armor, and once I find that, then I can exploit and go. But then I'm also limited because I don't know what that network looks like. If it's a ring infrastructure, well, oops, I don't think anybody's talked about that for 20 years. And so we have to go out and learn, and that slows us down. So it's not a bad thing to invest in risk. It's not a bad thing to assess where you think your vulnerabilities are. It is a more important thing, though, to think like the bad guy, like the attacker, like the adversary, to red team how you would get into that system. What's simple. We don't need to go to find the multi-million-dollar exploit 0-day that's not hit the streets yet. If MS-08 is working, then let's do it.
If you click this email.
Let's do it. And we've made it infinitely easier too. 2 years ago, I don't think I could have asked my parents if they knew what a chat GPT was, and now it seems like it's everywhere, or some competitor is everywhere. The speed of which we implement these technologies, and they just kind of grow and evolve into their own forms, is radical. And as defenders, we have to stay on top of it. As adversaries, we have to also. So it's a lot easier for us to stay abreast of technology, but if there's any chink in the armor, that's where we're going. So I look for the vulnerabilities. I don't look for this is the vault of Fort Knox. everything's got a weak point. And then it's just a matter of how you shape it.
Just to be clear on definitions, he's not talking technical vulnerabilities. He means any kind of vulnerability.
Yes.
If it's a social vulnerability.
Yes.
Right? So we had an expression in the intelligence community, you can't create an asset. I can't make you betray your country. But you might do some things that get you in trouble, and suddenly you can't see any other way out than that. So when we're talking, when Fizzle's talking vulnerability, don't just think technical vulnerability. Any kind of vulnerability, anything that gives me any daylight in any way has value.
So about the one more point about the adversarial mindset. So we know we are all coming from offensive security background, and you will not believe. Like I did a lot of assessment for a lot of clients. You would not believe 100 out of like maybe 80 or 85 assessment, I never had to use any of the advanced stuff. It was so easy for us to get into one of the major organizations. So we always think like it is always hard. They have all these defense tooling in place. It makes us very hard for us to get inside. But you will not believe it was so many times. It was so freaking easy for us to get inside that organization, get a shell and do some internal recon and stuff like that there. That is one thing. That's a technical part. So coming back to the process part, or coming back to the philosophical part. So I know you're all coming from offensive security background, right? So when we talk about adversarial thinking or thinking like an attacker, can you teach someone to do that? I'm going to start with about this.
All right, so something a lot of people don't know about me. I started as a server admin. I did a bit of programming, and then I moved into information security world. So the question, can I teach someone how to do adversarial thinking? It's not more about teaching. It's more about, are you willing to learn that way? If there is a will, you can learn that approach. And it's more of, to your point about how easy it is to hack, I have done compromises where I've ran an Nmap scan, and within 5 minutes, the Nmap scan is not even done. I've not even went to Nessus or any of the other vulnerability scanning systems, and I have got domain admin control because they had a vulnerable server that popped up right at the second host in the list of Nmap scans. And that was it. That is all I needed to get in. To the point about Bryson around we are living in the defender's playground. I have been that defender. I have tried to do things around finding the detection. The trouble is, do you have the detection in place? Someone can roam around in your ground. If you do not know how to spot that someone else is roaming around in the ground, you can't identify them. And that has been the trick around that. I kind of lost the question that you were asking.
Can you teach? Maybe
Okay.
for example, can you teach someone?
Going back to that point about can you teach someone? Yes, you can, but it's more of that the person has to be ready to start thinking in that direction. Start thinking about, okay, what can go wrong? Because I did that transition in a similar space. I was configuring all the systems, doing all the bits, and then I was like, okay, what does the other person do? How do they manage to do stuff? I read a few reports. I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. How does this work? Tried it, tested it, realized, okay, this is how the process is operating. This is how the systems is working. Even now, when I'm actually doing pen test and I'm creating reports out of it, doing red teaming, creating reports, I am thinking from that angle, hey, if I've done this, what are the steps the other party could have taken to prevent me from this? And there are tooling available, there are process and methods available, but like you said about budget, it's about can you spend time dealing with it, and then you would be able to do better defense.
So, yes, I think you can teach it. I think it comes easier to some. I look for folks that don't ask the why question per se. I'm the type of person that will ask why a million times, but what I've found is that the more interesting person is the person that asks the why not. They skip the how it works because they're already working on that, but they want to see what else it can do, what else could be in the realm of possible. That is a mindset shift that is fundamentally challenging for a lot of folks because a lot of them are just bent on trying to understand how did 1 + 1 = 2. How do we, others of us, we're the hacker mindset. we're trying to figure out what else can you do with those numbers. Can you start flipping them around on the around the equation and see if you can come up with something different? The mindset, though, is just a challenging thing because you're stemming from in academia, we teach facts, we teach compliance, we teach how things have been done, but teaching a mindset is a more challenging aspect. And finding the curious person to ask the why not question, that's the person that I found this kind of mentality just comes a lot easier. And we've had success training those folks, but it just takes more time, more energy, more resources. And inevitably they'll get there, but not always do we have that freedom of time and resources.
Yeah, Colonel, I think you were mandatory to say that you can train it. Know your audience. Who's heard of Conti? What do you know about Conti? Anybody? The Conti leaks. And what were the Conti leaks?
Detailed documentation.
We have the playbook on exactly how every operator uses Conti. Did I have to teach that? Did I have to learn that? Do I just have to tell people to follow it? And is it effective? So the ecosystem is not monolithic. Even in the vaunted APTs, you have A players on the APTs, and you have those who can't tie their shoes. But they can follow instructions. And I will share an anecdote with very little detail of this one time I was on a floor, and I watched a young man who was a private, and he had two screens. He had one screen with the instructions, and the other screen on target. Now, he was not doing a penetration test of your organization. He was actually on a real-world mission. Copy, paste. Because it doesn't match. So don't think it has to be this monolithic thing of, can I teach all of this? Because you can still be fundamentally valuable inside the ecosystem. Anyone in here ever done exploit development? Who wants to admit it? How about vulnerability research? Because that could be bug bounties, right? Vulnerability research, bug bounties, right? Finding bugs. The difference is, of course, how good a bug is the possible impact, also the weaponization of it, which is a different science. Finding a bug is not the same skill set as developing a reliable exploit that will meet multiple conditions with a guaranteed level of success. That starts to sound a little bit more the way I classify a weapon, because that's where it goes and that's how it is. So when I think of the adversarial mindset, I think it can take all types. It is, I believe, almost impossible to teach somebody to critically think, but I think it's entirely possible to make people absolutely useful within this space.
Those are some valid points, guys. It's really cool. So coming back to the cyber defense and organization side, let's talk about cooperation. Let's talk about many organizations in here. So there is a court for cyber defense and offense security people. So we have seen in many cases, in many organizations, the cyber defense, they are actually focused on a certain tooling to monitor something, to respond against a specific threat actor, and they are always following playbooks. And most of the time, most of the defense side, I have seen many people, they don't have an idea how these folks are getting in or getting out or exfiltrating their sensitive data. So they are just following that playbook to get that incident contained or detect it, or sometimes maybe detect it or maybe not, and contain it and report it, or and take remediative actions. But in many cases, we have observed that they have no clue how these fellows are getting inside. Some of the major leaks happened recently. Some of the major organizations, they don't even know how the threat actor got inside their infrastructure. Even their public disclosure document has the step from how what happened after they got in. It doesn't, expose how they got in. So for the cyber defense part or the corporations part, how can they actually use, let's say, again, I'm coming back to adversarial attack simulation. how can they, I mean, for the audience here, how can they actually use breach and adversarial attack simulation to improve the posture of their security defenses?
So we use, you mentioned a couple of the different frameworks. The BAM framework is apparently highly effective too. Piggybacking off of what we were just talking about, teaching the mindset, the playbooks are good, but no one's bound to a singular playbook. It's a good starting point. It's a good point for your folks that aren't thinking critically like that. The cyber defense. It's these kinds of things, the ability to bring in somebody that thinks critically, that thinks differently, that isn't necessarily drinking the company coffee, Kool-Aid. They bring that unique perspective that you might have been missing, that everybody got fixated on that one. We wanted to make sure that the DC was secure. That's the most valuable point in the system, but they all forgot to look at SMB. And all of a sudden now I'm all over the net, the red team actors all over the network because they just flew through it using SMB while we were focused on this. You bring in a red team type person and they start thinking very contrarian. They start thinking very, what if we did this? What if they did that? You start with the playbooks, but you branch out. You mix it up and you start to get creative because there are no rules when it comes to exploitation. There's only vulnerabilities and mitigations.
So I have a slightly different view here. I agree that breach and attack simulation can help organizations, but I also see organizations prematurely jumping to it when they don't have resources, they don't have an idea about, say, they've never done a VA, they've never done a PT, they've never done a red team, and they've started with breach and attack simulation. The problem that they face is now they're starting to ramp up their security operation, and they've got this huge chunk of things that are wrong, and they have no clue what to do. I've had a scenario where a decently sized organization actually contacted us, and the contact was not to run scans or do assessment. They contacted us saying, hey, we know we have a few thousand assets. We know we have a few 100,000 vulnerabilities in them. We don't know how to prioritize them. Which one should I focus first? Which of these elements should I start fixing? Because it's good to say fix all of them. I can't, because I don't know where the assets are. I don't know who the owners are. I have to do that whole process. That might take a year to identify who to ask for fixes. So where do I start? What are my primary objectives? And if any of the bugs that I give to the defenders do not appear to be more valuable, then the entire operation becomes like you're just wasting my time. So for me, the approach should be do a bit of VA, do a bit of PE, build your gradual security posture, and then definitely breach and attack simulation is what you need to do. However, it turns over, the script flips over if you are a critical entity. If you're someone who's dealing with money, if you're someone who's dealing with finances, PII, health data, if you've not done anything in security, maybe start with breach and attack simulation. You deserve to know every single hole and then get started to fixing every single thing in the world.
As a breach and attack simulation vendor, you should buy my shit yesterday. So this one does not have the Iliism of my name in it, but a few of us have written an offensive maturity matrix, and because we kept looking at the space, and 10 years ago, this space was dominated by ego. Red teamers red teamed to win. And they barely wrote English, so even though it was their first language. And so the report was garbage. And as you were sitting there trying to figure it out and going, I need to fix these things, you look up and they're already gone. Check already cleared. And then you've all seen this, right? Like they come back, hey, we found the same things, you suck. Well, where the fuck were you? Right? Thanks for the help, right? That does not help anyone, right? Our job is to help our organizations. The adversarial mindset, the adversarial emulation, breach and attack simulation, any of those things are there to help it. Breach and attack simulation is a tool. No tool can solve your problems. No tool can solve your problems. Tools are not leadership. Tools are not people. Tools are not process. Tools are not policy. They can help those things, but they can't help you any better. I said earlier, security is a critical thinking process. There is no tool that can think for you. AI, when you hear this in 3 years, don't kill me. And so our recommendation when we were thinking about this over and over again was start with purple teaming. Because purple teaming is a process. Purple teaming is a process that brings people together to collaboratively scope, plan, execute, and fix together. So you're learning, you're teaching, you're building, and you're improving. From there, increase the sophistication. You can do a purple team really simple. You can do a purple team with a fully expensive, all the end-to-end attack chain of an adversary. You don't need a red team to do it. You just need a red signal. I said earlier, typing commands in a CLI, typing in PowerShell. My favorite free tool, because free is the best price, Atomic Red Team. It'll get you started. It'll get you learning the process. And now you can build momentum to start to graduate to the point that you do a red team. Because my definition of red team is an operator with that imagination who is doing whatever is possible to win because you've earned the right to find those edges. Because them coming in, owning Active Directory and dropping the mic doesn't get you really far.
We are slightly running out of time. And thank you, Bryson, Anand, and Fisil for participating in this amazing panel and sharing your insight with all these wonderful people here. So we'll be, I don't know, I know you have questions. We'll be here for a few minutes and you can come talk to all these fellows here. And yeah, once again, thank you.